Hey everybody, welcome. It's another episode of Landmark Live. I'm Ivan Foley with the Platte County Landmark, and we've got a fine episode ahead of you tonight. We're going to talk all things community events, current events in Platte County, and I tell you what, my co-host is back. You know who's here? It's Brad Carl. Brad Carl, Berry Road Brad is here.
I just did the Chris Collinsworth slide. Remember
That
how he
was
does
awesome.
that? He
Yeah.
always slides in like that.
Brad, you today signed a 13-year, $330 million deal to be my co-host.
I did. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
That was somebody else.
Okay.
That was somebody else.
Confused. I thought that came across the ticker.
Yeah, I've got a really good friend who's a Phillies fan, and the very first thing he did was text me and go,
Yeah!
yeah! They're all excited.
Phillies are going to be good this year, man.
I think so.
That's my pick to win it all. How about that?
I think that I'll go with that too. I'll go with that, and maybe they'll meet the Royals, or maybe not.
Probably not.
Probably not this year.
Also, we're just a few days away from March Bradness, right?
Tomorrow starts March Bradness. Tomorrow is March 1, I believe, right? Is that right?
You are
on my
correct.
calendar? Yes.
You are correct.
So March Bradness is coming, and we have no idea what it is, but we just like to say it.
Yes.
right?
Well, it was last year. We did the bracket contest, which, by the way, I'm not doing this year.
Yes. By the way, if you don't mind me saying, good for you.
Thank God, right?
I'm very
Because
proud
you don't
of
want to
you.
have to help me grade all those papers.
That's true. You would have
Okay.
wanted my help. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we usually do that.
Yes.
You're getting distracted.
Well, we got some noise in the background from the studio audience, but
There's a shock.
March Bradness. We will do a show though, talking about our picks, right?
Yes, we can do that.
So
We can do
everybody
that.
can know how good we are.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Just for us.
Just for us.
And don't let Cam learn.
Well, we'll try to. No, we let Cameron do a show on that last year, and it was not good. But it'll be March Bradness with you and I, and we'll
Sounds
just give
good.
our picks, and that'll give everybody a chance to win everybody else's contests.
Yeah, that's fine.
There
Yeah,
we go.
that works.
So tonight, guys, community activist Kirby Holden is our guest, and we're going to bring Kirby in just a minute. Kirby follows the school district issues very closely in Platte County. Hey, he also follows the county issues as well. He's a former member of a central committee, Republican Central Committee. He knows his stuff. He's very up to date on what's going on throughout the county. Special guest to have on. We're glad to have him, and let's get right to it. Kirby, let's bring in Kirby Holden. Thanks, Kirby, for joining us, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Howdy, Kirby.
Who are the Phillies?
What's that?
Who are the Phillies?
Who are the Phillies? There's some team out east, like
They
over
just-
the bridge from New Jersey or something. I don't know.
I haven't heard that name in so
They
long.
just
I know.
spent a lot of money. And look at this T-shirt that Kirby's wearing.
I like it.
Probably just ruined any chance we had of boosting the post tonight. Probably just
Probably.
ruined it.
Yeah.
That's
Zuckerberg
okay.
is watching that, and down goes our chance to boost this post. But anyway,
Ben Shapiro will be proud.
Kirby, what is going on in your world? Tell us about your website, PlatteCountyR3Facts.com.
About 5 years ago, I had run for school board, trying to make a difference in the district, and I realized there's some information that wasn't getting out like it should have been, so I started up the website. And it was hard to keep it posted, so I ended up doing a Facebook post. I keep it up to date a little bit more. And it has got test scores, it tries to keep some facts, and tries to keep the school district in control.
Yeah. Now, do you get some pushback from that website, from folks on that website? I'm going to say you've had to fight a little pushback, have you not?
Yes, yeah, yeah, it's been nice. My daughter's in a different school district now, so I get to actually go enjoy ball games and stuff without having
really?
people
Oh, boy.
glaring through the back of my eyes.
Yeah.
It's because this is exactly the truth. No one has argued with me since I started the website on anything factual. It's always, I feel it's a good district. I went here in 1995. I loved it then. Things change.
Right.
I went to a great high school in 1980, and that was one of the worst high schools in Missouri. I mean, things change if you let them change, and that's kind of what I'm trying to keep from stopping here. And I don't really like spending my tax dollars to keep supporting people that don't give us the correct information.
Right. And being a community activist, I mean, you're just looking to help the situation, and people take it personally. Obviously, they've got time invested in it, the folks that work at the district, so they take everything personally.
Absolutely.
And that happens even everywhere, and we know that from the newspaper business. Anytime we criticize a public official, they almost always take it personally. But anyway, what's up to date, or bring us up to date with the test scores? I saw a post you had recently about test scores.
Yeah, the annual report just came out from they mailed that to all the parents, and right before that came out, I posted the EOC test scores, which is end of course exams in the high school, which to me are the important ones in the ACT, because the entire state takes them. They're the same everywhere, and all the kids have to take them, so it gives you a good idea of how our kids are doing compared to the other districts. And 2 years ago, our district decided to not test some students on the EOC exams, in algebra specifically, because we had below average test scores at some point. So they didn't test 50 students, but didn't point that out. At the school board meeting, they actually, you probably saw it on the Facebook post, they actually talked about what a huge accomplishment they'd had, increasing their score from 74% to 94%. And so I showed up at the meeting. I talked to Desi that day, and I went ahead, before the meeting started, I asked them to tell us how many students had been tested. Well, they hadn't tested 50 students who they thought would not pass it. And Desi's the one who'd figured that out for me that day. And so last year, no EOC test exams were posted for any school district, state of Missouri. And so this is the first time we've had them now in 2 years. And imagine this, Algebra 1 test scores are back down where they were at before. So we're back where we were at. English scores were not good this year. They were below the state average. But then some of the other scores were up, and they were okay. I just want them to give us that information factually. What they do is they send out this annual report, and there's always a reason for everything. So when they posted the test scores this time, this shows the state average, and then this shows where we're at below it. And then down below, they put a subnote that says, in 2018, new ELA and math tests were administered, so results cannot be accurately compared with previous years. Okay, but I can compare them to Park Hill, I can compare them to North Platte, Liberty, and we're below them too. So, I mean, just put it in there. They don't have to try to justify it. Just give us the facts, the truth, and then people can make a decision where they want their kids to go to school.
All right.
And that's where they want their kids to go at.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, you like this is the enrollment. This is the 2018 annual enrollment. This is the one from 2012, before they tried to pass a tax. This shows that we should have almost 4,700 students in the district at this point. I believe it's about 4,100. And this is what they were pumping. And every year, as the enrollment figures went down, it got a little smaller. Now finally this year, we're down to this little thing here. Because enrollment is off by about 700 to 800 students from what they told us back when they tried to pass the levy.
That's a pretty big miss.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a pretty big miss, percentage-wise. Now, Brad, your kids go to, or I say your kids, you only have one, right?
I only have
unless
one.
Unless something happens.
To my knowledge, I only have
Okay,
one.
well, that's one that he claims. Now, Presley goes to Park Hill. right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Yes. If everything works right for us, we plan to move, but probably stay in that district. Just because, I mean, she's so active in sports, she knows so many kids in different school districts, and whether she goes to Park Hill South or whether she goes to Park Hill when she gets to be that age, she'll know a lot of kids. So that's primarily the reason why we're going to stay there. But I have nothing against Platte County. Obviously, I wouldn't be a part of the show and everything if I didn't.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I
Park
live in
Hill,
Platte
Park
County.
Hill's in Platte County.
Right, exactly, I live in Platte County.
Yeah.
So
And actually, I
obviously-
post Park Hill scores on the test page too. Because that's, being as close as they are, we wrap around them, that's a good
Sure,
comparison.
yeah, absolutely.
It really is.
Makes sense.
Now, Brad, also, we didn't bring this up, but your daughter Presley has a good soccer coach that we can talk
Well, she used to. She's not with them
okay.
anymore.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we can talk about that later.
Not for any contractual reasons. There was not a trade. There was no. I'm mad. I want more money.
That's good to
It
know.
was just we moved on.
And by the way, slight commercial break here, since we don't have a sponsor tonight, and that's by choice. I wanted to keep it sponsorless this evening. Berry Road Brad is posted a new YouTube video where he does some Frank Sinatra for us. He's like Frank Sinatra without the mafia connections.
It was Frank Sinatra crossed with Elvis.
Yeah.
If I can be so bold as to say
We
that.
got to get that out there. Now, I posted it last night, but we'll repost it. Everybody's going to watch that video.
You must not have tagged me because I didn't see it.
Well, I'm sorry.
That's okay, it's okay.
We'll tag you next
And then
time.
boost it.
And next time you need to put me in the video.
I can do that
Yeah,
because
okay.
you always get my videos, my music videos views up.
We do pump those up,
Thank
especially
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was on the beach in that one.
Yeah,
video,
the one you were
and that's-
surfing,
the-
you were-
that thing got some hits, right?
It did.
Okay.
It did really well.
But
Yes.
back Kirby, what else? Test scores. What else can we talk about that you've been keeping an eye on the district?
It's one of the bigger things, and they've always, as I put on the Facebook page, you've got to be a little bit careful about the information they give in here because they'll always, obviously, stretch it to the high side. But one of the things I think we're looking at, you talked about on the Facebook post, was the bond ratings.
Right.
So at the school district, they always list, and everything they pump out shows an AA bond rating. That's an AA bond rating if you are just getting a loan, normal bond. More than $44 million of our school district's bonds have been done through lease purchases, which you have an AA minus bond rating. And that shows how you're affected when you change your bonds and you do anything out of the ordinary. And in this case, a lease purchase means that you're basically just doing every year, you're renewing that commitment to buy that piece of property, and there's some third party out there who actually owns it for 20 years. So you pay fees, you have a lower bond rating, which means you are probably paying a higher interest rate. And that's one of the things with the district, because they actually have more lease purchase loans right now than they have. I was looking earlier, and it's like, I think $44 million right now in lease purchase, which is the highest by percentage in the state.
Wow.
For the size of this district. The state decided that you should only be able to bond 15% of your the taxable amount of your, which I think is 540 million right now in the district. So they should get about $80 billion they can bond. And before they built the new schools, it was 60, 70 billion, but they've used all that. So then they wanted to buy more stuff. So they said, how can we buy more stuff? So they went out, they did lease purchase, they paid more for it with more money, and that's how they financed the last few jobs they've done, has been through lease purchase. Because by state law, they couldn't do any bigger bonds. That's how this district ended up with $93 million in debt.
Is that an up-to-date figure?
Printed off today, I do not use the school numbers because they tend to be different than what the state has.
Right.
And the state certifies it. So right now, I'll look and see here. You guys talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst the listen, Brad.
Yeah.
Now, when you're Berry Road, Brad, what street corner do you set up on? And I think I saw you one time panhandling down there at Berry Road and I-29 outside Arizona.
I'll do that, but that can be dangerous.
Well, yeah, but you had your guitar there one day.
I've done that. I've done that before, yes. But I also like to go to Berry Road and Green Hills Road.
Really?
Where I was hoping they would have built a quick trip, but instead they built a temp stop. But
What?
Yeah, exactly. A what? Exactly. But I vary. Yeah.
Now you're like Peter Frampton without the hair, right?
Yes. Well, Peter Frampton has hair like Kirby and I now. So,
does he?
yeah,
I hadn't seen him lately.
This is the look.
That's the Frampton look right there,
You
actually.
guys are
Yes.
trendsetters.
It took me 56 years to get this look.
He looks more like Frampton than I do right now. Frampton comes alive.
That is
I will
amazing.
tell you this, by the way, too. I was listening to something today while working, and it was just this playlist on Spotify, and the song by Peter Frampton called "Show Me the Way" comes on. It was the studio version. I didn't even know that the studio version existed.
Right.
That version is terrible. Don't listen to that version. You need the live
You need the
version.
live?
Frampton comes alive. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
definitely.
Now you're like Kiss without the makeup. Is what you are.
I am definitely Gene Simmons without the makeup. Yes. Minus the Judaism and everything else.
So
Yeah.
you're a girl.
He can. Now you work for tips?
Yes, I work for
Just the
tips.
tip, just the tip, Brad.
Just the tips, which, by the way, in case you're wondering, that is the Wi-Fi password here at Platte County Landmark.
It's
Just the tips.
I did not know that. No wonder I can't get signed in here.
And by the way, too, let's just remember that we Berry Road Brad, going on tour this summer, hoping to get a gig at our favorite winery up the road,
Oh yeah.
Joller Creek.
Joller Creek.
Hoping
yeah.
to get a gig at Tanner's.
Tanner's,
With the
yeah.
PA system that we know works.
Yes.
So
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
stuff like that. So later this summer, stay tuned.
Good stuff.
Maybe.
Now back to Kirby. We'll
Yes.
come back to you in a
No,
minute.
that's fine. I'm not
Right,
going
I'm-
anywhere.
I
Yeah.
was reading the notes here. Yeah, I actually brought the Standard & Poor off their website. Shows that Platte County has an AA- long-term rating on the leasehold refunding. And then under the 2017-2018 ASBR report off of the DESI website, we show $91.8 million in debt. So
That's
Pretty close to 93.
they're paying
Yeah.
$3.3 million a year in interest right now. So you've got 4,000 students, you're spending $800-900 a year in interest
wow.
because you've got so much debt racked up. I mean, it's no different using a credit card. It's, I want it now,
Right.
and I want to pay more for it. Well, it's our money, so it's easy to do that.
Yeah.
And there is lease purchase. There's right at $45 million in lease purchase right now, which is the AA- funding, $42 million in general obligation bonds, and we've got $5 million from the energy cost savings, where they decided while we were deeply in debt like this that we'd just tack on $5.4 million and have all the lights replaced.
well.
And actually, if you look on here, we're still paying for lights that we took out and we replaced them here. So we have $108,000 still outstanding on lights that they replaced when they did the last
That
one.
we no longer have.
That we no longer have. It's because fluorescent went to T15, T17, whatever, then they went to LEDs, and they didn't bring that up a single time when they were passing this. I went to the school board meetings, every one of them at this period, and no
Wow.
one mentioned a single time we were replacing it. And we have to get some school board members that will do some research. Call me.
Well,
I
yeah.
mean, I'll give you information, and good or bad.
Right, and they don't have to agree with you, but you've got the information just to share with them.
I will show them where to get it.
Right, right. And speaking of the school board, that's another angle I wanted to approach with you, because you've kind of noticed that over the years there aren't many split votes at the Platte County R3 School Board, are there? You want to touch on that and kind of mention what you've observed over the years?
When Adam McGinnis leaves this year, he's not running. He is the last person on the school board that I could find currently to vote no on anything, and he voted no on the energy deal. The odd part of that was, I believe it was December in 16, Gary Brown and Adam McGinnis were against it, and pretty adamantly, enough that Dr. Reich said, "Oh no, let's not vote tonight. We're going to table this."
Okay.
2 months later, they come back, and Gary Brown doesn't say a word. He just votes for it. He's had discussions with the guys that put this through, and he's suddenly on board, and not a word in the meeting about it. Other than they said they were going to lose their credits they were going to get from KCP&L or someone. So, like I am, I checked with KCP&L like 7 months later, and guess what? Those credits were still there. So I got a kick out of that one. But I just thought there was a turnaround. And I was proud of Adam McGinnis that he did that, because it's hard to sit in a room with all those people
Right.
who, I mean, if you've ever listened to administrators talk, they try to talk 10 foot above your head because they
Right.
think you know what they're talking about.
Right.
And so you're sitting there and you think, I'll just go along.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say no. when
Well,
everybody's
it
saying
can be
yes.
intimidating if you're not built, if you're not wired. Like you and I are wired that we don't really care if anyone agrees with us. We're going to say it anyway.
Unfortunately.
But a lot of people aren't wired like that. So.
If my wife's watching, that's not true. But actually, that is going to be bizarre, because we will have a school board right now made up of people who have never voted no. And you think about it, they vote on 3 or 4 items every night, maybe more, 12 times a year. Over the last 10 years I've been watching, I think since the swimming pool was put in, 2 people voted no. There's been no votes. So you're talking 1,000, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Not a single thing you don't agree with. Why do we even have a school board at that
Right.
point?
That seems unrealistic.
It is very,
Not be at least one disagreement.
And I can say this, in the last couple of years, there's not been much to vote no against.
Right.
Seriously. I mean, I don't like the way they finance the computers. They didn't ask us for that money. They did a lease purchase, I believe. But I do think some of the current members haven't had a chance to really voice their opinion on stuff yet. So we'll see. So maybe this time we can get some people on there that'll pay a little more attention.
Yeah.
It reminds me of when I was in college, and I realized that if I'm going to cheat, you can't get 100% every time. You've got to throw in a couple of misses in there.
gotta throw a curveball.
Exactly in there, and I think that's what the New England Patriots figured out when they went undefeated that one season.
Yeah.
And they started, then they started getting caught cheating, and that never mind. Anyway, they realized they had to lose some games.
New England Patriots, they've been in the news, haven't they?
I think they have been again.
I think their owner was trying to find the attorneys that the principal here used.
He must have had a good attorney.
Yes, I'm thinking that'd probably be smart.
His case got thrown out
Yeah,
for
Martin-
no apparent reason,
It
and
wa-
no explanation.
It was so funny. I showed the school board once. I said, you guys presented this award incorrectly. They said that they were one of 29 schools that had won this award. There was actually one of 3,000 schools that had won it. And they explained to me, Dr. Reich explained to me that the website was too complicated and they couldn't take the information down. And yet when, I believe his name was Dr. Martin, wasn't it, that was there?
Yeah.
When that happened with him and he was arrested, he was erased and scrubbed from our website at the school within 3 hours.
Wow.
He was nowhere. If you Googled him, he was not there. He never worked here.
Wow.
It was hilarious.
Wow.
And yet they couldn't fix that award. They could beat that up in 3 years. It's amazing.
Great.
It's amazing. So we've got an election coming up, school board election in April. Have you studied the candidates? Have any opinion on the candidates that are?
There's been one of them, I believe her name's Gina Ross, has been on the Facebook page and made some posts if you want to go look at that. It's the usual stuff, is let's only put the stuff in we need. And the administration's very convincing though when they need something. We don't want the kids going to school in a basement. Well, you have brand new LED lighting, so we need new schools. You've got to be able to backbone and say, let's pay our debt down. And so, no, it would be nice if and I'm hoping between now and the election, you'll ask them all some questions.
We'll try to do
I'll
that.
gladly give you some to ask.
Well, forward
And we can
suggestions.
find out what their opinions are on some of the stuff that's wrong. Debt's obviously a huge one.
Right.
Because we're going to need a new high school. For all you people up there on Berry Road, you need a high school at some point. The real estate people need a high school up there because people don't want to drive 13, 14 miles to take their kids back and forth to high school. but they're gonna need $67 million to build it. And if we can take this period right now where growth is slow, pay the bonds down, we could possibly do that without having to hit the taxpayers up for any more money. And so that would be great if we get a school board that just quits, because right now they're seeing their bonds go down, they're seeing it pay down a little bit every year, and they're going, oh, there's some money I can get. I can spend it on something. But they're gonna have to sit back and not spend it for a while so they can use that, build up that cushion, and then they're gonna spend every bit of it like Park Hill did here last year.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 110 million or something like that. It's huge. So
Yeah, Gina Ross, I believe that's her name. Gina Ross has reached out to us via Facebook, so we've had some communications with her. So the other names on that list I'm not yet familiar with, but we will work that out and try to do some interviews and pose some questions to them before the April election. And Berry Road Brad, if they get a new high school over by your area, well, your kid's still going to go to Park Hill, right?
Well, it just depends on where we move to, if we ever move.
Yeah.
Wink, wink. Yeah.
You would not be far. Now, will your daughter be going to Park Hill High? Yeah.
Right, if we stay where we're at, she would be going to Park Hill.
Not Park. You're in
Correct.
the north part of it.
Correct, yes,
and
correct.
you know they're both good schools.
Yeah, absolutely. We have no problem with either one of them. Yeah,
It's one of the ones I
absolutely.
use for comparisons.
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
both kind of go back and forth.
Yeah.
So I did want to mention there is one person running that's an incumbent. So if you're not happy with the fact that they voted no every time, I sat with this person in a meeting when I first got involved in this. I was on the other side, and I sat at Rising Star one night and listened to them tell us we could not look at the roof. I'll never forget this. I've got on videotape, because you could not walk on the roof of Rising Star because it wouldn't handle the weight of 4 men. So I went back and looked at the load chart for snow, thinking, well, if it wouldn't handle 4 men, it's not going to handle snow. I sent that, I said, okay, Dr. Reich, why? And he's like, well, so you're an expert on roofing now, that type deal. But Gary Brown, who's an incumbent in this election, was there at that meeting. And he sat there and listened to them say that. And then I went to the school board meeting where they were proposing having the roofs replaced for the school district. And Rising Star was not at the top of the list. It wasn't even listed as a safety hazard. The kids were still in school at Rising Star at that point. Not a word was said. I'm thinking, just speak up and say, are we replacing the school in 2 years? But how can you sit in a meeting and tell them the roof's not, it's beyond me. So that is one person that's running. I have seen quite a few things from.
Well, I'm excited because I've lived in the R3 district about 2 years now, but this will be the first school board election I get to vote in, because last year they didn't have one because some of the candidates who had filed dropped out and they didn't need one.
How convenient.
It was just amazing how they filed and then suddenly didn't want any part of the election. I don't know what happened.
It's a thankless job. I mean,
It
seriously,
is. It doesn't pay anything, and it is very thankless.
But if you're just going to be a cardboard cutout and you're going to do this with a stamp every time, we don't need you. Why are we paying for you to go to Tantera, to training? Why are we paying for this? If you're going to have an administration that just pushes everything through they want and there's no pushback at any point, then I don't see a reason to have it. I mean, and I know we have to have a school board, but I just hope the people that run take it seriously and realize we have some issues in this district academically, financially, and it needs to be fixed for everybody. I want my home values to go up because I would like them to be as much as they are in Park Hill South School District.
Yeah.
And the school districts do lead the way when you're looking at home values.
Sure, makes sense. Do you ever think to yourself, Kirby, Ivan, I know I do, I'm not the most political person in the world, but when I hear stuff like this, the older I get, the more I'm totally on your page, where the facts are so important to the general public, and you don't get the facts unless we have somebody like you trying to gather them for us, or because I'm too lazy to do it myself, or don't really care, would just rather go to your website and find out. But my point bringing this up is that I often wonder, how did we get here? 300 years ago when this country, came into, being, things had to be a lot simpler back then, right? I mean, it wasn't such a CF, for lack of a better way of saying it, as it is now. And I just wish we could get back to the old colonial days, maybe a little bit simpler, It didn't seem so complicated.
I don't think our founding fathers ever thought that politicians would do it for any reason other than it's for the good of the country, the good of the people.
Right.
And now people have, your superintendents, it's all about money, move to a bigger district, making it look good where they're at, passing levies and stuff so they can show the next school district they can get more money.
Yeah.
And you look at our politicians, it's all about the cash.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, if you're just tuning in, this is Landmark Live. It is a production of the Platte County Landmark newspaper. I'm Ivan Foley. This is my co-host. Brad Carl just signed a big contract to continue as co-host for 13 years at a cost of $330 million.
Yes.
Our guest tonight is Kirby Holden. He's an activist. Platte County R3Facts.com is where you can find his work. Your Facebook page is also known
Same,
as
it's like there's
Platte
also.
County R3Facts. And our Facebook page is Platte County Landmark. Brad, what is your Facebook page?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Brad Carl, author.
Brad Carl Books.
Brad Carl, author, or something like.
You don't
that.
even know.
Oh, I've got a new website. Can I pimp my new
Yeah,
website?
pimp it.
It's this is a little more less author-like and more just the real Brad Carl. Hence, it's therealbradcarl.com.
That is
So
awesome.
check it out if you want to see somebody who does a lot of things and has no idea what he's doing.
Yeah.
That's me.
You do some YouTube music videos.
I do
You're-
some of that.
You're like Milli Vanilli without the lip syncing. is what
Yeah,
you are.
yeah. I sing. I do sing. Sometimes better than other times. But
I
know,
tell you what, the
right.
My Way by you,
Yeah.
almost as good as Frank Sinatra.
That's awfully nice of you to
Yeah.
say. Frank Sinatra now or Frank Sinatra
Well,
then?
Frank Sinatra when he was alive.
Right.
I
Yes.
just-
Thank you.
know,
I think.
You know, Cindy, our camera person tonight, is a big Sinatra fan. So
Is she really?
I told her about your video today, so she'll go check that out
Oh, very
and
nice.
actually compare it to see if you sound like a little bit like Frank.
I'm not as cool as Frank.
No,
Never will
no,
be.
you're not as
Who
cool
is?
as- Nobody. And the Rat Pack was awesome, right? You
He
ever-
really very awesome.
Yeah.
Very the guy that sang. What was the name of the guy that sang? Oh, look. Oh, they're not sing it. We'll get. Never mind. We're probably not going to be able to get boosted anyway.
Probably not. I had Kirby shot that. So.
I'm sorry. It's a Russian clue.
No, the Rat Pack was awesome. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree wholeheartedly.
Kirby, you also used to be a member of the Platte County Republican Central Committee, so you follow the county politics very closely. And I know that we have a half-cent sales tax proposed for a jail. It's a capital improvements tax that would bring in $65 million over like 6 years, and most of that $65 million would be spent on at least a doubling of the jail capacity. So, Kirby, your thoughts?
Well, I don't follow politics that close as commissioner where I live, you know, but the jail thing, since it's had to do with taxes, and I do know several of the commissioners.
Yes, you do.
I have been amazed at how this has went down, to say lack of a better word. I know because of the school, I do understand bonds a little bit. I understand when your bond rating drops, what happens to you and how much it costs you. And so just to give you an example, it had we printed off, so I can find it here. It adds, if you have a bond rating drop and you pay 2% more interest on $65 million for 6.5 years, it cost you, it's like $6 million, okay? So if you knew that was gonna happen, why would you do something that could possibly drop your bond rating if you know you're gonna need to buy something?
Right.
And
The timing is extremely strange.
I do understand I think called appropriation bonds is what they have at Zona Rosa. And they need a general obligation bond that holds you feet to the fire more. So in other words, you've signed, you've got to pay for that. Appropriation bonds, I agree with our presiding commissioner. They're pretty loose, and he's probably going to get out of it, paying it. And you know, I'm kind of tickled because that was going to cost the county probably $10 million plus, and then we weren't even going to own Zona Rosa that we paid $10 million plus for, the parking garage we paid for.
Right.
But don't come back then 5 months later and go, oh, now we need to borrow money.
Yeah, if the plan was to bring up a proposal, a $65 million proposal, they should not have tanked the bond rating like that. They should have made that December appropriation, in my opinion, if you're gonna come back with a question that quickly. And that's why the timing just seems so odd. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I was looking because I know they're gonna find it with the sales tax. I mean, and on the Missouri Municipal Financial Guide, they were talking about the 4 ways you can do that. So with the sales tax, you can pay as you go, which that's for low cost projects, street repairs, things like that. Doesn't work. You can do tax anticipation notes, it says, but that's really, once again, for short-term financing. Lease purchase financing, which you already know my opinion on that, or sales tax revenue bonds. Either way, the last 2 things end up being, I think, bonds. And I know they're wanting to change it some way, get state legislature to change the ruling or something so they can issue sales tax and pay for this. But do that before you propose it. I mean, get your ducks in a row. This is not a group of guys and lady that I thought would pull something like this. I'm hoping they know something we don't know and they haven't shared it with us. But as the election gets closer, I'm starting to kind of worry a little bit.
Yeah, and that's another problem in itself. They have not been transparent at all with what the plan is. They have not spelled that out. They've got this website now. It's like info.plattejail.com. I went to it today. There's only two things on there. There's the ballot language, and then there's a list of education, what they called educational sessions coming up. Nothing about here's what the plan is, here's where we're going to build it, here's what size, here's how we're going to finance it. These are questions. Actually, those questions should have come up in public forums that were held before a ballot issue was even created. I mean, it's disrespectful, in my opinion, of the county commission to shoot their own conclusion out there and try to sell it to the voters. The respectful way to do it is to have public input forums, and let's all get together and let's gather a plan. Let's gather. Here's what we know. And let's ask the public their feelings. Let's come up with a plan. Create the public discussion, and it'll lead you in the right direction. But it's a little bit egotistical of the commission just to say, hey, here's the plan, and honestly, they haven't even told us what the plan is.
What the plan is, right?
Yeah, well, here's what the school did last time, and here's what the result. They didn't tell us any details. They didn't tell us how much it was going to cost for the new school. They didn't tell us where they were spending the money. They said, we need $29 million, and we're going to raise your levy, and we need new schools in space. And in 2012, the levy was shot down, and the number one reason people said they didn't vote for it was a new parking lot and tennis courts. They didn't want that included. So, in print, we were told that this last 2015 levy for the schools would not have a parking lot, would not have a tennis court. And guess what? Go look behind the school. We got a new parking lot, new tennis court. They can take that money and use it where they want. And then they try to say, well, it was good through good physical management. That's how we handled it. Well, put the money back in the kitty, And they did spend. They can say they did. They did spend district dollars to finish those tennis courts. They were supposed to did a presentation at one of the meetings. They never did. So what we've got now is a jail. We want a jail. We're not sure for sure what it's going to cost. And so what do we end up with? I will never vote for anything again unless we have details of where the money's going and we know the cost.
Yeah.
And I don't believe it's going to cost twice as much to build a jail today as it was in 2012, 2013.
Yeah, I've talked to several people in government who have approached me saying there's got to be a lot of padding built into those that estimated cost of that jail. There's just no way it should cost that much. So
No.
that's something we'll get into in the newspaper. Be sure, and if you don't yet have a subscription to the Landmark, call us 858-0363. Get one. We've got all kinds of great jail information coming at you between now and Election Day. There's been a retired federal agent who's been in contact with me through all of this. He texted me today when he read this story. Courts to stop jailing suspects not considered dangerous, which will, regardless of what Sheriff Owen tried to say the other night at the Platte City Council meeting, it will drop the jail population some. This federal agent is working right now to try to determine exactly, in his opinion, how much it would drop the county jail population. Of course, that population may eventually come back up slowly, but I tell you what, Cass County put it into effect, and even the sheriff and the prosecutor at a recent county commission meeting admitted Cass County's population dropped from 180 to 120 using that system. Now they said, well, it's coming back up, but there's no doubt it's going to drop it, and now how fast it will rise again, who knows?
Well, so we're not going to add people.
Exactly. That's
Right.
why.
Right.
The sheriff almost said, "This is like a bad thing. How can this can't be a bad thing. This can't be a bad." He said, "Well, that's not the answer." Well, they're trying, Sheriff. Let's try. We're trying to help you here. We're trying to, you're complaining about a crowded jail. This is trying to help you. Let's not diss it, okay? Let's not. Everything doesn't always have to be doom and gloom. Okay, it's kind of what the attitude we're getting from the county commission and the sheriff sometimes.
If you're not for me, you're against me.
Right.
And in this case, I would vote tomorrow for a tax to give a pay raise to our deputies in the sheriff's department. I don't know anyone that wouldn't, quite honestly. They're very good. They do their job great. I don't want to see them injured at the jail by prisoners who are there on their hotel basis, getting in fights. We don't want to see that. But I also know that I also would like to see the jail a little fuller before you come to me and say we need money.
Right. Well, especially with it, if this does drop the county population, the jail population by 30%, which is what happened in Cass County, you'd be down to about 100 county prisoners, and you're going to build a jail with a capacity of 400. You've got 300 empty beds. What are they going to do with those empty beds, Kirby?
Hampton Inn.
Yeah, they're going to run them out. That's what they're trying to do. That's in my opinion.
And the other prisons are going to send us their best, most upstanding people.
Oh yeah, they're only going to send you the good
Right.
ones.
Yeah.
And another thing we haven't gotten into yet is the businesses in downtown Platte City will tell you stories about when these folks get let out of jail over here. They're let out with no money, no cell phone. What do? If they don't have a ride, they come walk the streets of Platte City. They'll come walking into the Landmark. I've had many of them one at a time. They don't come in bunches. But, they'll come walking in at night.
That's good.
When I'm working, they just want to use the phone. They'll sit down. One time, my most recent occasion, I had a young lady come in there and asked to use the phone. She told me her situation. Yeah, come on. You know, I'm sympathetic, Brad. You know,
You are.
hey, use my phone.
Yeah.
She sat down at the desk, talked for an hour, and I said, you know, I gotta go. I said, and so she asked where she could go next. I said, well, try the pool hall. They'll still.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So
I don't know, but yeah, they let them out with no phone.
I didn't know that.
No money.
Wow.
And so that's one thing we can talk about in a future issue of the newspaper too. A lot of the downtown business. I know a female owner of a business just locks her door after a certain time because of that. So.
Right.
But that's one thing we haven't really touched on yet. Now I want to speak to the parks people, all the park supporters out there, because the county right now, this half-cent sales tax, as Kirby said, is not for salaries, right? So their intent is to bring back a sales tax proposal next year in 2020 when the park tax expires, and they're gonna, I would guess, I'm just guessing because they haven't said exactly any numbers, but I would guess that the county commission is going to propose 3/8 for law enforcement operations, which they're going to need money to operate this jail that they're wanting to build. Also, very deservedly, the guys and females of the sheriff's department need a raise.
Yep.
There's no question about that. I'm in support of that. In fact, I'm surprised they didn't proceed with that question first before ever bringing up the jail question. But the parks people, since the county commission is just putting off the park tax renewal as late as they can because they're trying to paint you into a corner. Parks folks, they're going to put this on the ballot in either August or November of 2020, right before the tax expires. They're going to put a 1/8 cent sales tax on there for parks, and they're going to say, you have to vote for the 1/8, elsewise the whole thing goes away.
So
Okay? So if the parks people want any kind of bargaining power with the county commission, you've got to make a statement. You've got to beat this jail tax proposal. That will get the county commission's attention. That will want them to bring you to the table for discussions instead of trying to ram everything down your throat and not allow you any input at all. So parks folks, I'm saying you've got to organize, you've got to mobilize, you've got to vote against this jail tax proposal. Kirby, your thoughts?
Isn't this the group of people, the commissioners, that said they weren't going to do an April tax?
Yeah, that was one of them.
I thought, yeah, and then here I am. I think there's an April tax.
There is an April tax.
I thought so. So yeah, I just want to make sure that it doesn't you don't get so much stuff on the ballot that when they do finally put something on it for the sheriff's department, that it doesn't get passed because people are overloaded with taxes. Because that's one reason I know the school will back off occasionally, not do a tax, because they say, well, we can't have 3 tax increases on this April ballot, so we'll wait till next year. They need to get the sheriff's one done, I think now.
Yeah,
The jail could have waited.
the operations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, the operations part of it, because capital
Agree.
a capital increase on this one will leave you no money for those people that, and you can have a nice big building, but if there's nobody in there to run it, or just the people you can get left over, and there's some very good people in that department.
So if the parks folks want bargaining power, they've got to vote this down and then say, hey, you know, bring us to the table, involve us in discussions, and in advance of ballot issues, not after you've already put them on the ballot. And so there's your bargaining power, parks folks. You've got to vote this down, and that will get their attention. Brad, your thoughts?
Yes.
And I don't want stuff combined. Don't do what state of Missouri did and say we're going to give money to the highway patrol and for the highways. 2 completely separate things. One or the other.
I should mention that this, as you know, this is a learning process for me. This is not something that I mean, I read the Platte County Landmark, or I obviously am familiar with a lot of this stuff, and I can't disagree with anything that we're talking about right now at all. And a lot of it for me, as an average Joe, sounds like common sense to me. I mean, it really does. You talk about facts and you talk about common sense, but then it's all the other stuff that just kind of makes everybody go, and so I'm really learning a lot here, and I think it's great. So if you just think of me as everybody else out there, that's who I am, wanting to learn. That's what I'm doing right now, and occasionally being a smart aleck.
Yeah,
So,
well, that's you got to keep it fun, right?
Exactly.
You got to keep it fun.
Yes.
Oh man,
Which is hard sometimes.
It
You're
is.
talking
It's
about
true.
bonds and
Yeah.
money and lease.
and debt. Let's talk about debt. Oh, yeah. At one point, and I know you worked closely with these folks. I know you worked closely with John. Wasn't he a candidate who said the county's not gonna take on any more debt?
This is one of the things that's got me miffed right now. I talked to him shortly after the Zona Rosa situation, and he made the comment to me, it didn't matter that if our bond rating dropped, which they're gonna punish us. The bond people are gonna go, they're gonna slap your hands because they can't have everybody else doing this. So they've gotta drop your rating, and it seemed like he knew that was gonna happen, and the comments made to me, we were gonna pay cash. I love that. I like paying cash. I don't like paying interest to people for stuff. And so I thought, okay, I can handle it. I'm not real big on the county signing off on something then backing out, because as a county, we should stay by what we've said. But in this case, I thought, okay, we're gonna go debt-free, we're gonna start paying for stuff, and then just a couple months later, this hit. And I don't know if they weren't talking about it yet, if you just wanna share that, but nothing from that conversation makes sense now.
Yeah. And they're just, the lack of transparency is just amazing to me. They're not putting anything in writing. They've got these, what they call educational sessions held, which I think is kind of egotistical in its own way to word it that way. But there's nothing in writing. They went to a Platte County EDC meeting the other day looking for an endorsement. That didn't go well because the county commission could not say how it was going to be financed. They had nothing written down. They had no information in writing. Maybe the ballot language, which everybody already had access to. We don't need you to put the ballot language in writing for us. We know what that is. Let's put your plan in writing. They didn't have anything in writing for the EDC subcommittee.
And if the EDC doesn't support you,
Oh, that's bad.
when it comes to tax stuff, oh my gosh.
That almost never happens.
This is the first I've seen.
So that's a message.
Well, I think the one thing I will mention is that we were exchanging emails today a little bit, and you said that's a great question, and Kirby's kind of already alluded to it a couple of times in the last 10 minutes, but my question as Average Joe is, we just talked about this county jail thing. We talked about the whole, where's this coming from? And that's really my question. It's like you said, you talk about transparency. I want to know, why are we so hung up on wanting to put this jail here? I don't understand, because the facts don't show me that we need a jail. So why are they, meaning the commission, so hung up on it? And as an average Joe, I want to know, and I'll probably never know.
Yeah.
But or maybe you have some ideas.
Well, the need is not immediate. The need is not immediate.
Right.
This thing could wait until 2024, Barb.
Well, we talked about Springfield putting in, they lost their place to use as hotels, so their inmate population went up. They pulled semis in. I didn't know they had these, but they have actually semis that are made to be jails. They're stainless steel, they got bunks down them. And they pulled those in and they used those. And after about a year of them being overcrowded at the jail, they passed a bond, and now they are building a jail in Springfield. And so in the schools, you have waves that go through your schools. So you have these trailers that they pull in, like we have 4 of them, and you put people in them. And then if it continues to stay large and the population's high and enrollment's up, then you build onto the schools. People can't argue with it then.
Right.
Now what you can't do is fake the size of your schools, downsize your schools to do that. And that's kind of what's happened with the jail here, is they always are fudging the numbers.
Yeah.
When I read the paper, I see, you call them on this, you call them on that, and that's what I unfortunately have to do with the school, because they'll tell me capacity is 600. Next time I look, capacity will be 400.
Yeah.
I was like, what happened to 600?
Well, they did a jail study with a capacity listed at 154. The capacity is 180, but the jail study said it focused on, well, when it was originally built.
Yeah, but
it
you
was
got the extra
154.
beds they got.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So they
What the
can
hell?
handle more. It's not optimal, it's not great, but if you're running at that peak and it's gonna take a year or 2 to get a jail permit, then you gotta do it. And I don't think anybody'd argue with them at that point. We'd say, yeah,
Right.
okay, we gotta have a bigger jail, because we need a place. But with everything happened today in the paper, and everything you've pointed out that the jail's not full now, unless you have the pay-to-play prisoners.
You have waves, and again, when it gets crowded, they've got ICE prisoners they can take out.
Yep.
I don't know if there are Kansas City prisoners and other prisoners that we house. Some folks over the county will tell you there are. The sheriff says there's not. I don't know. But that's another. We've got some information on that. We can share between now and Election Day. But it's going to be an interesting March and early April.
Oh, April's gonna be fun. Yeah, I'll see, we'll see what happens with everything.
Yeah. Brad, I'm just excited that you're excited about all these issues now.
Yeah, I mean, I really am. It was like I said, I read your article and learned today, and sitting here talking, it's making sense to me, and I think it's important to say that just by me sitting here listening to all this, that I am learning, because I do want to know what I'm doing when it comes time to vote. I want to know the facts as well as the facts.
Yeah.
I want to know them, and everybody else should too.
Yeah, again, guys, you're watching Landmark Live, a production of the Platte County Landmark. I'm Ivan Foley. This is Brad Carl. And to my right is our special guest, Kirby Holden. The community activist runs a website called PlatteCountyR3Facts.com. Brad, you might write a song about all this eventually, right?
I really could.
Performing on a street corner in
Platte County Prison Blues.
you like Johnny Cash.
I do,
right?
I do, yeah, absolutely.
You could do that.
Yeah.
Throw on some black and you sing it. We'll do it. We'll do a show Election Eve.
Do that.
You come on dressed as Johnny Cash and sing that little tune for
That's fine because I can wear all black leather and it still won't be terribly hot outside.
That's
It'll probably still be 20 below out by then.
With all the information I get mailed to me from people, I get anonymous letters.
Oh,
I literally will get a letter in the mail.
It's like you run a newspaper.
It will not be. Do you get those too?
my
And
God.
I'm like, and they'll be very vague about something, and you need to look into this.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I could do a mini series. We could call it Platte because of some
Right.
of this stuff, these letters. It's pretty good, juicy stuff. And I think this would be amazing. You know, make some money off this finally.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm not making anything now.
Right. Oh, wow.
Well, guys, we thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week. I think I have a show lined up, Brad. Brad, if we don't, we'll just come on and let you sing.
I could do that. You know, I've got original songs.
Yeah.
Some are serious, some are not, and maybe by next week I'll have the Platte County Prison Blues.
Well, at least give us a couple. What's the word? You know,
Bars. A
Bars.
couple
Thank
bars.
you. Yeah, do that. Thank you. Appreciate that. I would look forward to that. That'll give you guys a reason to tune in next Thursday night, the first Thursday in March. By golly, it's March Bradness already.
March Bradness, and it's still really, really, really cold outside.
It is.
It's gonna get worse this weekend, folks.
Yeah. Well, Kirby, thanks for coming on, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Kirby. Appreciate it.
And we will see you guys next time. Again, Platte County Landmark, if you'd like to stay up to date on what's going on with the jail tax issue, you'll want a subscription, 858-0363. We'll get you set up. Call us. And hey, we'll see you next Thursday night. Until then, good night.